Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Positive Success Show. I have an awesome guest with us today. His name is Wei Chou, and he's going to share with us some awesome, interesting stories just about his life experiences and how he's been able to build a life of success and well-being and fulfillment throughout the world through crazy situations, and really share with all of you the mindset that it takes to achieve what you want to achieve. And so just before we start, so welcome to the show, Wei.
Well, thank you, Dom. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah,
Very
no,
excited for the experience. Thank you.
it's great. It's great to have you. So for everyone listening or watching, Wei, I met him just through a friend, and we started talking, and I just started learning more about what he does. And it's fascinating because personally, like, I've been much in the diplomatic scene, but not much in the military scene. So really understanding that military mindset, or the infantry mindset, as you said, Wei, in one of our previous conversations, it really fascinated me because when it comes to leadership, when it comes to life, when it comes to even entrepreneurship, you have to have a certain mindset to get what you want to get, to achieve what you want to achieve. And so, Wei, I want to hand you the mic because I think your stories and your perspective is very interesting and unique. And I hope all the listeners out there really take notes because his philosophies are filled with wisdom. And so, Wei, what is your what have you done in your life to get to where you are today?
Well, first of all, I don't know if I'd quite qualify as being a success quite yet. But as far as fulfillment, I think I've achieved a certain degree of fulfillment in my life, being able to affect a lot at my current age. As far as what it has taken to get where I am today, I guess a backgrounder on myself. So I'm a West Point grad, and I was an East-West fellow right out of West Point, where I did research for the East-West Center at the University of Hawaii. From there, I was an infantry officer deployed to Afghanistan. I was a paratrooper at the time. Then I became a company commander, led about 100 troops here in Korea, and then I transitioned to foreign area officer, where I got to work in security cooperation. I was a liaison officer to the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force, and then now I'm here. I work in strategic communications, where I got to meet you, and then hopefully I'll be joining you in that diplomatic sphere very soon. So.
Yeah, no, great. Thank you, Wei. I totally didn't introduce your whole background, so thank you for doing that. So Wei, everyone, is obviously, highly, just has done so much in his life. And so Wei, throughout your time in these different spaces and places, what has been your mindset? How did you keep pushing forward? Because every time you you know you move to that next stage in life, it's like you had this experience and then that experience, and you just keep leveling up. So I'd love to know how you think about your own success and how you approach new opportunities in life and work.
Well, when it comes to how I approach new opportunities in life and work, I think I have a very unique approach that may not be applicable to all, but I advocate it for anyone to be willing to try. I think that I came from a very, I guess, tumultuous beginning, but from there I was able to sort of look back retrospectively and see that I was able to gain a lot from the chaos and learning to manage the chaos in my life. And I think from there, I became sort of a challenge addict, I guess, if you can say that is a thing. That's why I wanted to join the infantry. That's why I wanted to go to Ranger School. So I wanted to become a paratrooper to experience new and challenging situations. I felt like each time I was able to overcome one of these challenges, I was able to grow. And I sort of do the same in my leadership philosophy as well. I advocate for my peers, my troops, anyone else when they have an opportunity to step outside of their comfort zone, when they have an opportunity to really challenge themselves, to seize it, to take that chance, and marvel at the way that they can grow. You mentioned a certain mindset and an infantry mindset before. And I mentioned too before how I have sort of a residual infantry mindset. I think if you come to know other individuals, many different people within the military, there are different breeds. The Army, of course, is the largest of the services. We're very people focused, but you'll find that among all the individuals in the Army, there is a wide breadth of different personalities and characters that you'll encounter in even within Army culture itself. There is just such a huge range of missions that we're expected to be able to handle as well. I think currently, if you watch the information environment, you can see that the conversation has shifted. It was once counterinsurgency, and now we're shifting to great power competition. And so when you speak to someone in the Army and they say that they are infantry, or they're a logistician, or they're an armorer, or they're an aviator, then so if you meet someone in the combat arms, someone that works at tanks or infantry, and that person is probably one of 16 or so other different sort of MOSs, different occupations that could be working in the military. The infantry are known to bring a very unique mindset, I guess, to the table. So what I described to you before, it's extremely mission oriented. Now that I'm sort of in this diplomatic / strategic space, I've tried to learn to adapt, to apply it selectively, to some success, to some failure, but on the whole, I just recognize it's a part of my character, and try to apply it where most effective, I suppose. So the infantry mindset, the mission of the infantry is to close with and destroy the enemy. We take great pride, especially as paratroopers, in that mission and our ability to complete it. We attack it very aggressively. We attack most missions and objectives that we're given very aggressively. And that's just how infantrymen are wired, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. No, and it's interesting the language that you use, like that's how they're wired. And so that mindset, the thinking patterns, right? Like I talk about this a lot in my success seminars or my workshops or with my clients, like the way that you talk to yourself and the way that you act, your behavior, all of your habits, all those things, it wires your brain in a certain way to respond to your environment in a certain way. And so obviously, within the military or Army, at least with your experiences, you have to be wired in that way to complete that mission. And so you said earlier, Wei, prior to us starting the interview, is that one of the things you love doing in terms of success or for your life is to get in and through challenging situations. and I think that's great, because a lot of folks, if ever it's like, I don't want any challenges, I just want it to be easy. But even in the success literature, it's challenging. Like you have to do the hard work to get the results that you want, regardless of what it is. If you want to be a good parent, if you want to be a good, good in your profession, if you want to be, fit and strong, if you want to be a great cook, like it just takes work to learn how to do it and think and be better and improve yourself. And so I just love that you said that before, and you're bringing this infantry, like attack the thing that you're trying to attack, right? And I really appreciate you bringing that metaphor and that type of mindset. Can you? Did you want to say something? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, for sure. So, for example, Ranger School, they call Ranger School sort of the premier leadership school of the Army. So while you're going through, you don't understand, like, this isn't leadership. You are essentially outdoors in the woods or the mountains or the swamps, and it just sucks. You're carrying stuff, and you got bugs biting you, and you're fatigued, and you're hungry, and you're tired, and it just sucks all the time. But once you get done with it, you can sort of understand why it's called a leadership school. You really test what your body and what you can personally handle, and you expand those boundaries, those limits. And when it comes to leadership, you're leading in the worst possible situation with another group of individuals that are all tired and hungry and resentful that they're having to go through this. And and that's why it's a challenge, and that's why it tests your ability to lead as well. So, yeah.
Gosh, so amazing, so amazing. Can you share with our listeners just, I guess, a story or something that you've been through in the past, with your work, where you really had to overcome something challenging and still push through and still stay positive. It could be a story, or it could be like a brief experience. I mean, I can only imagine, like, you have lots of stories. You've been to Afghanistan, you've been all over, jumping out of planes and stuff, but I don't know, anything that comes to mind right now.
Well, as you did mention jumping out of planes, I would say, and I talked about sort of an infantry paratrooper mindset. Jumping out of planes, it was something that you dreaded due to the amount of preparation it would take, yet you relished in at the same time. And it's something I've come to miss and look back upon fondly, even if while I was planning the operation, I was like, oh my God, when are we actually going to do this? Like, this takes so much time to plan. But in retrospect, what a very unique experience, and also with some great insights as far as leadership and just finding your way in a nebulous situation. So there's a military saying that a plan only makes it as far as first contact. I think when you are planning for what we call a massive tactical, like, airborne operation, or a joint forcible entry operation, which is more of a joint term, I suppose. But you start gaining some appreciation of the chaos of battle, and then I think the astute will also gain some appreciation of the chaos of life. I say that because, for example, the nighttime mass TAC forcible entry operations that I have done in the past, you're with a company and you're with a platoon that you have trained for and intimately over the last several years, guys that you've deployed with and you know how to operate with. However, when you're dropping 1,000 or so people onto an airfield at night with equipment, and people are carrying various loads of equipment, and people have different weights, then it's just going to be chaos. You have no control of, well, you have some control, but not really, of where you land. And where you land is where you'll fight, is where you conduct the mission. And who you land with is who you'll fight with, who you'll conduct the mission with. So it helps to be synchronized on the overall intent, the overall objective, the overall mission. And once you have that synchronicity, that synchronization, that common purpose, then wherever you land, you'll bond with anyone. It's funny because there's an unofficial doctrinal term that we paratroopers will call those little groups of people that just band together on an airfield, we call them LGOPs, little groups of paratroopers. So very technical. But whoever is in your LGOP, wherever you are, that's who you operate with. And I think that I would encourage people, even if they're in an entrepreneurial or diplomatic sort of environment, that skill is universally applicable, universally useful, to be able to work with anybody, to establish a common mission and sense of purpose that anyone can work together to achieve, no matter the situation. So.
I love it. I love it. Synchronization, original intent. Those are like, you're speaking my language, Wei. No, but it's like the way in which you're describing, like, you don't know who you're going to land with. So whoever you do land with, you're going to work with them with the tools that you have. And I think that's such a great metaphor for life. Like, wherever you go, find your group, find your tribe, find your LGOP. Now I'm going to start your little group of paratroopers, and work together to make the mission happen. I love the common mission, common purpose. So Wei, when you are in challenging situations, or there's obstacles, what do you do to stay positive, to stay resilient? Like, what's your go-to? Wow. Because you've been through, I can't even imagine, like, yeah. Anyway, so what do you do to stay positive in those challenging situations?
Well, I think it depends on the situation. So I suppose if you're referring maybe to like a deployment situation, I could think of some significant challenges I faced during deployment. As I mentioned to you before, I was in a very unique deployment to a really bad area called the Arghandab River Valley. We were the second Americans that were ever in this area, and the first Americans that were in this area of Afghanistan were forcibly made to return back to Kandahar because of all of the casualties they were receiving. And so they were essentially combat ineffective, and we were relocated to this area. So there were some challenges, some significant challenges. I think the mindset that I tried to bring, I don't know, I'm sure I was, depending on who you ask, I may have had mixed levels of success, but was basically that if I'm going to lead these men in a challenging situation, even if I feel fear, even if I feel deprivation, even if I feel weak, or if I feel cynical, then I can't show it. It must be properly funneled. I needed to convey a high level of confidence and competence at all times. And I think that, not to get too sidetracked, but I think that in the end, no matter how detestable of a character a person may have, if they are able to demonstrate hard work towards their subordinates, towards the mission, and able to display a degree of competence, then people would follow them. Even in my current capacity as a foreign area officer, where our tools of the trade are language, cultural abilities, abilities to look at policy. And for example, when I was a liaison officer to the Ground Self-Defense Force, so language, it'll get your foot in the door. The ability to socialize, it'll build friendly relations. But when it comes to building a lasting relationship, and it comes to getting the job done, nothing will compare to competence. And I think that is what I try to focus on the most. Again, whether I'm successful or not, I'm sure you'll find different reviews. But I suppose that's one one piece of advice that I could offer on the topic. So,
Gosh, that's like so jam-packed. I love it. I'm like feverishly like taking notes here. No, but that idea, like even though you feel those feelings, or what you were saying earlier, just to quickly summarize, it could be fear, deprivation, weakness. You can't show it, but what you do have to show is confidence and competence.
right.
That's like,
And it's not. I hope I'm not advocating for a repressed mindset here. Of course, I mean, if you do feel these emotions, you should always find the proper channels in which to express them. I think, especially when it comes to combat arms guys, again, not to get too sidetracked, just due to having an extremely type A personality, you'll find that a lot of them, they'll return back to civilian life and they don't know the proper avenues, the proper channels in which to express those emotions. It's important to find those as well. And I think those are an essential, yet often overlooked aspect of personal resilience. So.
great. So great. Oh my gosh. Wait, you're like teaching me so much right now. I love it. So wait, to wrap up, what is your definition of success today?
Today, huh. I think that one's definition of success will always vary depending on the person. I'm sure that, I mean, you have a wide range of individuals that you've interacted with in the past that may seek monetary, financial success, may seek, I know you talk a lot about work-life balance. That can be success as well. I know many people see advancing their professional position or their power as success. And I mean, far be it for me to judge other people's goals as far as what constitutes success. But for me, that meaning seems to have changed often. I think where the cards ultimately fell were that if I'm able to positively impact my immediate sphere of influence, if I'm able to leave my immediate sphere of influence better, more prepared, more ready to challenge whatever life brings this sphere of influence, then I'll consider it a success. I think very often you see those, and I'm sure you've seen far more than I have, you see those that set the grandest goals for success. And for some, I think that works. For some, they can plod through whatever sort of hardships and difficulties that life throws their way in order to reach that grand goal. For others, I think that can often be a distraction. If you become too concerned about how you're going to become an ambassador, then this a diplomatic analogy. I don't know if it's applicable or not. Please correct me if it isn't. Then perhaps you would not be as concerned about being an outstanding political or Mill officer in your current environment. I think oftentimes you'll see the same in a military setting, where if someone is overly concerned about their success, they won't realize other areas such as caring for soldiers, or leaving their unit better than when they found it. And those areas, that neglect, it builds up. And then it can lead to smaller failures that can set you back on your greater goal. So I think, to me, if I can receive my mission, be that in a professional sense, in a family sense, in a personal sense, set a realistic, achievable, yet positive mission. If I can achieve those small missions, and that is success enough for me.
Love it. Realistic, achievable, positive missions. No, it's great. It's great. And so, Wei, any final words that you want to leave with our listeners or anyone that might be watching this right now?
Well, I really appreciate you having me on. You have such an amazing knack for bringing out the best in people, and I really look forward to working more with you and working more with the, I guess, embassy community in Seoul when I come back. I guess I would just say, as a final parting word, it would be sort of a summary, a summation of everything that I've said. It would just be, don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. You'll be amazed at the ways that you can grow. If you really, even if you're dropped in the dark, in the middle of the night with people you don't know, that could be where you grow the most and learn the most as well. So.
So good. Anyone that wants to jump out of planes, just Wei, he knows how. All right, Wei, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate all of the insights and wisdom and stories that you shared. Thank you for your service and everything that you've done. You really are an exemplary, I can't even say that word, exemplary example for others to follow, because, just that idea and the way that you speak about leadership, it's not just about, like achieving this massive success for yourself, but leaving behind something better. And I love that. I mean, that message rings true through all of your stories. It's leaving behind something better, being a positive impact with your sphere of influence. So lots of lessons there. Thank you again so much for being on the show.
Thank you. This was a really great experience. I really appreciate it.